Hello, it's Wendy here from Australia. I want to talk today about letting go of expectations. It sounds so easy and it's really, really hard to do. And when I first read about how we should lower our expectations and get rid of expectations of other people and situations, it sounded really good and whatever. I didn't know if it felt that doable for me at the time, but I thought, okay, we'll see how we go. There's a real resistance, I think, to letting go of expectations. We've been brought up to expect so much of ourselves, so much of other people, so much of our workplace, so much of our friendships and families. These expectations have just grown and grown and grown into things that we think we have a right to expect. That if you're the mother, you should be like that, and if you're the friend, and if you're the workmate, there are expectations upon expectation. And the more the person or the situation doesn't meet our expectation, the more problems we have. And that's why I think I'm doing this podcast, because I've been doing a lot of serious work in the last year or so, especially lately, of letting go of expectations with people. We have an expectation of a person because we see them a certain way, and we actually see them through our own filter, and that's half the problem. So a lot of it's like, well, I would do this, or I would do that, or why aren't they like this? Because you're coming through your filter. And when you have an expectation, it actually sets up a filter expectation that you have. If you're with your sister, she might have a completely different filter on her, and so her expectation of, say, the mother will be different to your expectation of the mother. The other thing is that the more our expectations are not met, the more we can hold on to them as a right, that it's rightful to expect that they should be doing it, and it goes into that kind of area, which is really non-productive, because if people don't want to do it, they don't do it, and they either don't do it overtly and you notice it, or they don't do it passively. They just don't do it. They won't do it for you because they don't want to, and that's okay. And that's what the expectation is, a really serious flaw, I think, in most relationships, because our expectations are not with the right person. If we've got a friend who's very kind and generous, very giving, our kind of expectation of them will be that they will continue to be like that. However, if then they change, then we're going to have trouble with our expectations. What I did was I realised that I, like everybody else, I had expectations. I thought it was okay to do that. Now I realise that it's actually counterproductive, and it doesn't help the relationship at all, because you set up this imaginary relationship you want to have with them, which in reality doesn't work, because the reality one is not like the fantasy one. And I let go of it. Like, I thought, okay, I don't have to have expectation. And that was kind of weird, because a part of me was thinking, well, I should expect this person and the friend and the son and the daughter and the grandma, whatever these people were, the worst person at work, I should expect them to do these things or be like that in the relationship. It was really a really, really strong way of thinking, and I think it's been brought up by the genetics, the upbringing, and then the environment that we live in. The first thing I did was let go of wanting to have an expectation of everyone, because I did. And then, of course, then they failed or they won. And I got disappointed or I got happy. When I decided I was going to get rid of all expectations from everyone, I just accepted that they were as they were. I didn't try to make it any different. I just let go of my expectations of them. It felt like a relief. It was a really interesting thing. It was like, okay, I'm not going to have any more expectations of you. And I put it in my mind. What I did was, and this is what I want you to try and do, is I saw the person that I was trying to let go of the expectation in front of me in my imagination, and I saw them and say their name was Harry. Harry was in front of me. And I basically said to Harry, in my mind, I'm letting go of all expectations of you. I'm letting it all go. And every time I thought of Harry and thought, oh, he should have rung or he should have done it, I went, I'm letting go of all those expectations. Now, this is not easy to do. I'm not saying you're going to do one of those and it's all going to be fine, because there's so many expectations that you'll find you come up against. And you'll have that old patterning of expecting them to not be late, or to bring something to the party, or to thank you. You'll have these, they're like ingrained in you. And it's going to take you quite a while to really pull them apart and let them go. Every time I thought of the person, I got a little bit, I was having an expectation it wasn't met, I was maybe angry with them or a bit disappointed. I realised, oh, I'm still there, and I just said to them, in my mind, I'm letting go of all expectation of you. It also goes into the relationship, because we'll have expectations within the relationship, and we are told that this is good to do, and I actually still think we're going to still do that to a degree, but we can either lower them, get rid of them, or accept them. And acceptance comes in with letting go of the expectation, because when you keep expecting the person to do it, you'll get disappointed. But if you don't expect it and you accept that it's not going to happen, the acceptance seems to finish it off for me. I felt I just accepted, that's how it is, that's how they want to run it, and just let them go. I didn't feel I had to talk to them, explain it, do a big communication thing around it, write them letters. I didn't feel like that anymore. I felt like you do what makes you happy, whatever that is. If I don't like it, I can step back or away. That's my choice, or even out of the relationship. But people know what they're doing. I don't think we really have to tell them. For the most part, people know what they're doing, and they know why they're doing it. And if you have expectations, you're also bound to them in a way, because while you expect them to let you know if they're coming on Saturday, or be there and support you when you're going through a rough time, they almost have a little bit of power over you, because they can actually withhold that and not do it. Whereas if you're self-reliant and you only go to the people who you know will be there for you, and that's the other thing, you might need to look at your little group of people in your life, make one line with, I have had expectations with you and you've mostly, through my filter, and it's mostly been okay, and I've had it with you and it's really not been okay. So start dropping it off with the ones you've got the expectations that aren't working. Do that first. But then I would still go to the group where you do it for everyone. So what I was doing was, and continue to do so, at night, my group of people, I just go to each one of them at night in my head. I have no expectations of you. Be happy, and I'm sending you love. And I go to every single person. It also comes into being more tolerant and accepting, as we said earlier, but tolerant of their way they are and their personality and their upbringing and their behaviour. This does not mean you have to accept abuse or being mistreated. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying these are people you're choosing to want to be with, but you have too many expectations on them which they never meet, and it's actually, it will sour the relationship. That's the best way to say it. It sours it. I think that if you're a perfectionist and you have high standards for yourself, you might actually transfer that to others unknowingly. If you've come out of a family, as a childhood, life was very high expectations, and if you didn't meet them, you got punished or got into trouble or shamed, then you can look at that as well, because those expectations were put on you, you accepted them, you picked them up, you carry them around for yourself, and you might be quite hard on yourself. You'll actually find that people who've got high expectations of others can be actually quite hard on themselves as well. So drop your expectations for yourself, just stop it. Accept that you still haven't lost the weight, accept that right now you're not sleeping properly, accept that you're not keeping the house as tidy as you want to. Just accept it, let go of the expectation, and know that when you are ready and when you can, you'll do it. It's like being loving to yourself, like being kind to yourself. I keep doing it. I think I'm getting better at it. Sometimes it creeps in my head and then I have to do the little routine again. However, I'm finding that the people that I've been doing it with and that have been not, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm not so affected by their behaviours, and I'm not so affected by my response to their behaviours. And that's the best thing about it. I don't really have such a response or reaction. It's like, just do whatever you need to do, and there you go. A bit like that. And this is your choice, your life, and I won't expect that you'll do anything. And if it happens, that's really great. And if you do things that also make me happy, that's really great. But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm letting you be how you are and getting rid of my expectations. It will be going the other way as well. People will also punish you if you don't meet their expectations, and watch out for that one. So if they expect you to be a certain way and you can't do it, maybe you're sick, maybe you were distracted, maybe you had to help somebody else, or you had too much work, they will actually punish you. They will withhold from you and blame you and shame you. Therefore, you might want to look at that, because if it's happening that way, it could be that you do that as well. And when you stop having expectations, you won't need to do anything. It'll just be like, oh, okay, and you'll just move on. It was such a simple thing when I read it, and it is really a really challenging, difficult thing to do. So when I do it, I do the letting go of the expectations to that person, speak to them, and I drop it down like to the floor in my mind, and then I just send them love and say, do what makes you happy. And that actually has made it much easier for me to do the process. And I know I'll continue to do it, because you can feel them ramping up every now and then. That old you will come back. I call it old Wendy, come back with her little expectations, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing it again, coming through my own filter, and then I do the process again. Good luck with it. I think you can do it. I think your life will be easier. You won't be so upset. You won't be so disappointed. You won't be so angry. And also, it kind of detaches you from their behaviour somewhat, because while you're expecting somebody to do what you call the right thing, you're sort of attached to them. But when you just let them do whatever they want and put some protection and barriers and boundaries around yourself, because you need to keep safe with this, then you feel that you're actually living a much more truthful and genuine and transparent life. I didn't have the conversation with these people about the expectations. I thought that wouldn't go down very well. I don't suggest you have that conversation either. However, if you're with other people, it might be a good conversation to say that you're going to do this and how you're doing it, and then someone else can learn how to do it. So have a lovely week with no expectations. I suppose that was an expectation, wasn't it? And I'll talk to you soon, sending you lots of love.